I think the Copper Development Association really excels at is providing the opportunity for training or even information at all levels. So whether that be a utilities, municipality, and even down to the installations.
Hey there, I'm Andrew Farr, and welcome back to Water Finance Management Conversations. Recently, the US EPA announced it would uphold regulations under the lead and copper rule improvements, which mandates the replacement of all lead service lines by 2037. Now, the Trump administration could still make changes to this law, but for now, the requirement is going to remain in place for the replacement of all lead service lines, including on the customer side. So for today's discussion, we're going to focus on that a little bit, and I'm excited to be joined by Marcus Elmer, Vice President at the Copper Development Association, who has more than 15 years of experience in the plumbing and mechanical industries. Now, given copper's role as, of course, being included in the lead and copper rule improvements and also as a replacement material of choice, if you will, we thought that Marcus would be great to chat with about this topic. So, Marcus, maybe we could start off and you could pick up and add to what I was saying in my intro about the lead and copper rule improvements. Talk to us about some of the regulatory action that you think water systems need to be aware of when it comes to lead service line replacement and what you think they should be preparing for now, given that 10-year timeline to complete this work is set to begin in 2027.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Great to be here. I think for water utilities, the biggest thing in recent news, as you had mentioned, is really um, the the Trump era administration, or the EPA under the Trump administration, is acknowledging the Biden era EPA ruling with the lead and copper rule improvement. And so that really had set the stage. It's been maybe 2 or 3 years ago now, as we kind of saw that transition through the lead and copper rule revision. There was $15 billion in federal funding that was allocated for the removal of lead service lines. And so now moving forward, looking into 2026 and even into 2027, as we see the EPA standing behind that ruling or that requirement to replace all lead service lines. Now, that's not saying it's not going to come with some headwinds and some challenges as we think of different municipalities and water utilities trying to meet that 10-year deadline to remove 100% the lead service lines. And within that lead and copper rule improvement too, in that 10-year span, they're asking for a cadence of 10% replacement each year. And so really what it boils down to is having better documentation and filing of identifying where these lead service lines are, what's been replaced, and reporting that to the federal government to making sure that you're showing, I believe it's a 3-year average of a 10% replacement each year with equaling 100% replacement by 2037. Some of the biggest changes that we've seen in the lead and copper rule improvement is really this action of lowering the lead content. So it's the going from 15 parts per billion down to 10 parts per billion is this action level that municipalities or water utilities must come up with a program to mitigate or to lower. Now, copper is in the lead and copper rule improvement, has been back since the 80s, obviously, but there has been no change to the requirement or the action level from a copper standpoint. But what is different too when it comes to copper is that now utilities or municipalities or the waterworks must report not just the lead levels, but also the copper levels that are reported. So that's just really the big things that are impacting this new lead and copper rule improvement as municipalities look to move forward. I also do want to note too that there are 3 years ago, the federal funding, that $15 billion had started, an average about $3 billion per year. So we still have 2 years left of about $3 billion a year for federal funding. So we're starting to see that go from the federal government down to the states, particularly the states with higher lead service line densities, those that are requiring or those that have higher volume of lead service lines. So we are seeing that money being dispersed among the states. And so we just really encouraged and excited um, at the water utilities municipalities getting access to that money and being able to replace lead service lines.
Marcus, what is the Copper Development Association's message to owners? And what does your organization want to communicate about copper pipe to water systems and utility leaders who are managing these lead service line replacement programs?
Sure. Yeah, there's kind of two things, and I'll start with the first one, being the availability of copper. So we think of the demand of copper and everything we've heard in the news with supply demands as we move to data centers and more artificial intelligence and increase in electrical requirements. The demand of copper is increasing, but within the US, we have a number of domestic manufacturers. So when it comes down to Build America, Buy America requirements. There's more than enough manufacturers producing copper service line material. It's readily available. I speak with them almost daily, at least one of them, and they are well prepared to service the supply and minimize any disruption in the supply side. So I think that's my first point is really want to make sure this demand, this uptick that we see with everything going on within the U.S. that the the manufacturers of copper tube providing service lines are ready to meet the demand. And they've made many investments in both in equipment, technology, hiring, ready to meet this demand. So I think even going down level now, the next message is kind of to the homeowner, the consumer. Copper is next to lead and part of this rule that we have talked about. But I just really want to separate those. So, as we know, copper is a metal, but it also is an essential element. So we find copper a lot in some of our favorite foods like nuts, shellfish, chocolate. So it is among the food that we eat, and it is an important nutrient that as humans that we do need. And so there is concern and some issues out there that may be perceived as some of the using copper service lines or having high levels of copper in the water. There can certainly be ways to mitigate that. Water quality is important, and there's many associations out there that are working on proper water chemistry. But also too with those that are using or that are installing copper service lines, that it is a safe material. Our body needs it. Copper does a great job over time forming a patina, so a protective layer in the copper, and also has a long lifetime. So when I say long lifetime too, we've found that for decades, copper and service line applications, when installed correctly, lasting for a very long time, delivering clean water and being a very effective investment for service lines.
Can you tell us about some of the training and resources that the Copper Development Association provides to water systems and other stakeholders across the industry? And are there any common trends or perhaps recurring challenges that you're seeing with regards to resources or lack thereof, training on the part of water utilities or contractors when it comes to performing this type of work?
Yeah, certainly. So this is where I think the Copper Development Association really excels at is providing the opportunity for training or even information at all levels. So whether that be a utilities, municipality, and even down to the installation. So we provide that training. Depending on the type of training, we can be in person on the field or do it virtually. So we definitely pride ourselves and want to offer training to different levels in that decision-making process and even down to the field and those that are installing. We do have a series called Do It Proper with Copper, which we're right now currently promoting and really trying to drive and educate to the water utilities that we do offer this training to those that are interested. We can come to the groups and provide the training. And again, that aspect of that range of training, we ask that, is there anywhere particular that we want to emphasize on, or just really kind of give the broad overview or dig in anywhere specific? So that could be from material handling to the equipment to trench. to installing copper service lines in a trench type installation or a trenchless, whether it's a horizontal boring type applications, best practices, all the way to the connections, working with the different fittings, the proper flaring, and even to the testing and washing of a system before it's turned over to the owner. So really the whole array from a material education standpoint all the way down to the installation and connection of the fittings. CDA really does provide the opportunity for this training for the installers and even to educate both the homeowners and municipalities. So we do have a number of resources also on our website at copper.org. We have a number of different toolkits for those if it's a homeowner looking for a letter or more information about installing copper to help make an informed decision. We do have toolkits and information available for the water utilities or even the homeowner as well to help make an informed decision and better educate themselves through the process of selecting material or installing the material.
Well, I mentioned at the beginning that, of course, lead and copper rule regulations are a big part of what water utilities are doing, especially right now with these requirements in place. So this is a huge topic of interest. So Marcus, we really appreciate you joining us today to give us sort of the copper end of things for a change. So great to hear your comments and really enjoyed talking with you for a couple minutes.
Great. Thank you, Andrew.
And that'll do it for this edition of Water Finance and Management Conversations. We'll see you next time.
Subscribe to Water Finance and Management's YouTube page and visit waterfm.com for the latest water industry news and insight.